Hello, my name is Ellouise Shuttler. This is Stories in Time. We talk about many different kinds of stories. And today I'm going to tell you about a story that's called Your Name is Your First Story. Have you ever thought about that? Your name is a story. I hope you got the story directly from your parents. If you didn't, you're going to have to work for it to find it out. When I started with genealogy, I didn't know a lot of these things, and it was ever exciting when I learned something else and tried it on myself. You've seen my name. It's E-L-L-O-U-I-S-E, Ellouise. That was the brilliant idea of my mother. She named me for two grandmothers. My father's mother was Louise. Her mother was Ellie, and she wanted to put them together into a new way. But what she decided to do was to put the two names together. Ellouise is spelled E-L-L-O-U-I-S-E. I never got a clue on that until I was probably maybe 20. I just accepted that it was E-L-L-O-U-I-S-E and never talked about it. They were not genealogists, and it wasn't something that interested them. I think Mother did it because she wanted to be recognized as the mother of the first grandchild for both of those women. And so she named me with two names. That started me thinking later, as I started to study my family and try to find out who they were, where they were born, where they died, where are they, or what were they. And, there are people all over this country and the world looking for that information. And when I started, almost 30 years ago, looking into that family information, there wasn't nearly as much involved that you could go to and answer your questions. And it was harder to get to. I'll never forget, my name is Ellouise Kiesler Diggle, and then Shuttler is my married name. The Kiesler is my mother's maiden name. It's her father's name. That's so important because I didn't know him. He died when my mother was 18 months old. All I knew about Gus Kiesler was that there was a little picture in my grandmother's living room, and he was a very good-looking man. And he stood there wearing a football uniform from Clemson University. That was a clue for me to pick up later, not as it sat there for all those years. I picked it up later. So your name is the beginning if you ask questions of your mothers, of your grandmother, sometimes knows those things, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins even sometimes know things, and maybe your sister or brother has already gone looking for the information and they know and they can tell you. But you need it if you're looking to find out who your family is, was, and where you came from. I find it just absolutely fascinating once I get started. I've gotten started again. I have a lot of information, but I've started looking for something again. And over you find out new things that you just didn't know. But where you can find it now is so different on the internet, on Ancestry, the newspapers you can sign on, pay $11 a month, and you can have old newspapers available where they were, scanned into a system that you can get onto and find. So where was it when I first started that they told me, when I was talking to people who were knowledgeable about this and wanted to do it, how do you find that out? I don't know. And my grandmother's dead, both of them, and I don't know where to get this information. And this was what it was. You go to your Bibles. Find out if there are any Bibles in your family where they kept the list, handwritten into the Bible, of the birth, the marriage, the death, who it was and where it was. That's a major place to be looking into. And then you go to the library, to the history rooms, and they can help you get started. The place that I like to look at when I go looking for something new is the city directories, because I may not know where my father lived, my father and mother lived, where I was when I was 10 years old. Any of those things, you can add all of that small pieces of information that you really at first think, oh, that is too much trouble, I don't want that. I'll just fill out this form, born, married, died. My daughter said that to me one time when I first started, and I wanted to tell her more about what I had found. Boring, boring, begat, 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 and then they died. Mother, that's not anything. That's not a story. She's right, it's not a story. It's not a story. It's just, a page with the names and the numbers on them. It doesn't tell you anything about those people. I wanted to know about the people. Now, I started by going through my memory of everything that I could remember as a child. Growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, where did my grandmother live? My grandmother, my mother's mother, because I liked to go to her house as often as I could. What street would I go down to? What was their address at that time? So you're a detective. That's how I like to think about it. You're a detective, and you have to find out what it is. Then the marriages, and where did you get married? What church was that? Now, my mother and father eloped. They did. Daddy was a Catholic. Mother was a Methodist. They came home and told my mother's mother that they had eloped. And she said, well, you can't do that. Who married you? Well, it's the person in the courthouse down in South Carolina. That won't work. That's not good enough. Robert, your mother is a devout Catholic. She's going to want to know what church you were married in, what Catholic church you were married in, and who was the priest. You can't do that this way. And they didn't. They had the state or, the local legal marriage, but they waited another week to gather the family that they wanted. It was a small amount, and they all went down to the rectory where the priests lived at St. Peter's Catholic Church on Tryon Street in Charlotte. And when I was told that later, maybe I was 6, 7, or 8, and I knew where that was. I went to Mass there. I had been in that rectory. I knew what that house looked like and who the priest was, and how it felt to kneel down in that church during Mass. Uncomfortable, by the way, for a child. What the stained glass windows look like. If you didn't have access to those memories, surely somebody in your family did. I saw somebody had written on Facebook a few days ago in my family. She is my cousin. She lives in South Carolina. Her mother is dead. She was long gone, a sweet and wonderful woman. But her question was, this is a picture of my grandmother's house. My grandmother also, her house. Where was it? Who lived there? Do you know what year it was born? And she threw that out to all the cousins. And the born meant which year was the house built. I know all of that. And if she thinks about it, she'll understand that I know all about it, and maybe she'll call me. Maybe we'll have a good conversation. and she'll give me some more words that her mother may have told her. If it wasn't for my Aunt Catherine, Louise's mother's sister, my daddy's sister, if Catherine hadn't been there and told me everything that she knew, I wouldn't have known, I would only have known about that much about my family. She cared about it. She saved the photographs. She kept notes. She could tell you everything. And we talked together just because we both liked it and we liked what we were looking for. And there are many times when I hit upon something new and I miss her because she's not there for me to call up and talk to again. Wow, that happens on many fronts, doesn't it? So, if we want to know who our family is and we don't already know it and you don't know any of the sweet little stories, look for Bibles, look for annuals, look for notes, for any kind of scrapbooks, for anything that you can get your hands on that will give you a clue as to who you are and who you came from. If you start doing that, I'd be willing to bet you anything you'll be happy to be doing it. It is a lot of fun. You find out a lot of things. And if you pursue it, you meet a lot of other people who are actually part of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for stopping by and listening.